Can technology make us realize that millions of liters of industrial wastewater generated needn't really be wasted? Water recycling technology can help us reclaim and reuse it. It's ironic, isn't it? How a machine can see something we humans so conveniently miss at times.
Well, if you had to divide a test match into 15 parts, then Sachin Tendulkar has now played 1/15th of his final test match. You'll get better numbers than that on match point, I assure you. But the first session is done, and I think West Indies are 93 for 2. Thereafter, having been put in to bat by India, won the toss and bowled first, unusual for Indian circumstances. We're going to talk about that, the pitch, batting first, show you some Hawkeyes that you'd get to watch it, that you'd all be wondering as to whether it was hitting, whether it wasn't, and talk about Chris Gayle, all that on the lunchtime show of Match Point. Hello and welcome. Sanjay and Ajit are still with me, and Sanjay, 93 for 2, which team would be happier having their lunch right now?
I think Dhoni will be slightly relieved that he's got 2 wickets. Because clearly, Ajit also, once he watched that first over, he said, this is not a pitch where you go as a captain saying, I want to bowl first on this pitch. So it was a good one-day batting pitch with a little bit of help in the morning, but certainly not a pitch where you want to bowl first. Having done that, having made the decision, he'll be happy. At least he's got 2 wickets to show for it.
Yeah, Ajit, we spoke about how the bowling, would be supported by this one-day pitch. From the first glimpse that you saw, were you happy that, okay, the bowlers are getting the first go, the Indian bowlers are getting a first go at this, or do we now look at that toss in slightly more intelligent retrospection?
I mean, everyone at the toss said that it's a bowl first wicket, so, you would have thought there's a lot more than what looks on TV at the moment. I mean, there's enough there. I mean, when you consider other wickets in India, there's a lot there. But, as Sanjay said, that second wicket kind of would have made MS feel a lot happier. Because someone who's got a massive 100 in the last test that played and looked really good, bravo. So that would have made him feel a little bit relieved. Even session, I think West Indies, I mean, they were 100 for 2 in the last test as well. So we'll have to wait and see.
There's a very interesting thing about, this typical tradition and the cliche that we used to have that 5-day test match, win the toss, bat first, and it's always an advantage. But there are some interesting findings in recent times where it's not necessarily the case that you end up batting second for whatever reason. You're not really out of the test match. I think we've got some numbers in store somewhere where overall, when you look at world cricket as well, the difference is not that much. So that thing about winning the toss, batting first, and you get a big advantage is certainly not the case. And especially in India, it is actually that much more glaring, where actually teams who have batted second, maybe after winning the toss or not winning the toss, the numbers are pretty glaring. So I hope we've got the numbers.
We've got those numbers for you that Sanjay was talking about right now, where that concept of winning the toss and batting first isn't as much of
just have a look at that.
Yes.
Overall, the teams that batted first won 169 times. And
Sorry. 174. Now, this is Jan 2003 onwards, so we're looking at the last 10 years. India is the interesting talking point, where you think if you win the toss and bat first, it's that advantage, that old notion. But if anything, teams batting second seem to be the ones doing better.
Yeah, I mean, surprising. I mean, I wouldn't have thought that it's that close, It's probably the case where India has really bowled well first and then batted for 2 long days and bowled teams out. But yeah, I never thought it would be as close as it is. 15 and 20 there's barely anything in it. So, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't mind not batting first on this pitch.
What happens on typical Indian pitches? Because, this came to our mind, when we watched the series against Australia, not the last one, the one before that, where Dhoni seemed to lose the toss, but kept winning the test matches. So what happens in a typical scenario like this is you lose the toss, the team, overseas team bats first, and you get that advantage in the first couple of hours, and the teams invariably recover because it's a good batting pitch. But they get about 325, 330 after losing some early wickets because of the moisture. But the team that bats second gets to bat on day 2 and 3 of the test, best time to bat, and end up giving a lead of 140-50. And the team which batted first comes into bat on day 4, where the pitch is now starting to wear and tear. And that's why, losing the toss or batting second is not such a bad idea, especially in India.
Yeah, not a bad toss to lose as we've established now. But let's take a look at where the match stands. And if you take a look, of course, like we mentioned, MS Dhoni won the toss this morning and chose to bowl. This is what the first session of play has produced. Chris Gayle was out, and this time the early wicket was taken by Mohammad Shami. For the sake of variety, Bhuvneshwar Kumar didn't take this early wicket. And like Ajit mentioned, Darren Bravo was that big wicket just before lunch and would make MS Dhoni's lunch a lot more easy to digest. Kieran Powell is still out there, steady session, and Marlon Samuels, well, that not of 16 reflects. He's been struggling to connect bat on ball. Fair reflection of how things have panned out, Sanjay?
Yes, and there were a few close calls which could have added to the drama, but few balls that fell short.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and you look at the Indian bowling as well. Bhuvneshwar Kumar kept bowling. Shami and Ashwin with the wickets, but Ajit, Bhuvneshwar Kumar did bowl in the right areas and unlucky not to get a wicket.
Yeah, both very impressive. I think we thought it was a pitch up sort of wicket. Wasn't necessarily, didn't have to bowl too full on it.
Yep.
If you bowl sort of good length or back a good length, was good enough. There was still movement. And what interesting point about towards the end of that session, you saw the ball swinging a lot more, which generally happens with the SG ball.
Okay.
Once it's about 15 or 20 overs old, the lacquer comes off and generally starts going a long way. So it'll be interesting when they come after lunch if it still does as much as it did towards the end of that session.
Yeah, it would be interesting to go on what they should have done, the Indian bowlers, and this is something I did want to ask you. You know, initially we said they should pitch the ball up at this particular point, and then we saw the Chris Gayle wicket where Shami that was probably the first ball that he put the length back. So what was the right way of bowling on this pitch once they saw what it was doing in the first few?
I mean, there wasn't a lot of lateral movement, so you don't mind. I mean, there's a bit of extra bounce than what you would get on other surfaces in India. So you don't mind pitching the odd ball which is slightly short of length, and probably got a little bit big on Chris, and fortunately went to hand. So I think it's about assessing the conditions. I mean, towards the end of that session as well, because it was swinging a lot more than it did initially, Shami pitched a few balls up and actually beat the bat, and there was enough carry there. So, look, it's not a wicket where you're going to roll teams out, but there's enough there.
Yeah, there's an interesting when you mentioned something like Ajit said that the ball got big on Chris Gayle. There has to be one big ball to get big on Chris Gayle from that little Bhuvneshwar Kumar. Sorry, it was Mohammad Shami, but he's a little man in contrast to Chris Gayle. One thing that we did talk about just before we went up was we were hoping the umpiring would be spot on in this test match after a few uncertain decisions or incorrect decisions in the first one. And Sanjay, we noticed a few close LBW shouts. One was in the 13th over of the game. Ravichandran Ashwin bowling to I think it was Kieran Powell, and yes, you could see it was a close shot. It looked out on first go, but this is what Hawkeye tells us, and of course this is an approximation. Tough, good decision for Nigel Long to get right.
yes, because it looked out.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was pitching an off stump, going on to hit middle, and the where the ball hit the pads from that point, you thought that could be hitting the stumps.
Yeah.
But now this is Wankhede Stadium pitch coming into play. That extra bounce, just indicative with that Hawkeye
You
there.
only wonder what Shane Shillingford would be like if Ashwin's getting this kind of bounce. Ashwin, of course, a tall man by his own means. Then there were two interesting back-to-back shouts from Bhuvneshwar Kumar to Darren Bravo, and this is the first one. Bravo offering no shot, and both looked pretty close. Ajit, this is the kind of ball where it needs to do more than just enough.
I thought it was out when I first looked at it, both of them. But
as you can see, as a bowler, do you normally
yeah,
think
when
it's
you
out all
don't
the
play a
time?
shot, it's generally works in bowler's favor. But again, like Sanjay said, it's the Wankhede pitch which comes to the fore again, where it just bounces that much more. So I think the umpire got it spot on. When you look at the Hawkeye,
Correct.
that's when you realize it.
It's interesting, actually. It's not also the height factor. The ball is not going on to hit the stumps. So I mean, we have to keep reminding the viewers that this is an approximation.
Correct,
but clearly at the Eden Gardens, we saw that ball much lower, didn't we?
Correct, and this is of course from 17.4 to 5. So they were. I think Darren Bravo was really testing umpire Kettleborough. It got closer and closer to the stump, but
He's a good umpire.
Getting it right. You like Richard
Yeah,
Kettleborough.
Kettleborough is a good umpire, and he's got those two pretty good.
You must elaborate a little on that, because when you say good umpire, you like the way he gets to his decision. Is that by what you look at from his body language?
Yeah, they
Is
should
that
make good
based on-
mistakes, in the sense that he is thought hard about it. It should not be instinctive, and if your instincts are, awry, then you're in trouble because you'll end up making bad mistakes. But Kettleborough seems like, he has a good look at it. there is a bit of filtering of everything, all the thoughts in his head, and then comes up with the decision. I like him.
We've got a headline for this one. You've got to make good mistakes as an umpire, Sanjay. But let's talk about another interesting aspect. We spoke about how Bhuvneshwar Kumar was a little unlucky not to get wickets. Now, he did produce the edge, outside edge, Ajit, and it didn't carry to first slip. Now, we immediately reacted, and I asked you while we were watching the game, there is Ashwin standing a little too behind. Tell us from the ground itself, how do the slips choose their positioning? Is it all to do with the wicketkeeper? Does the bowler ever have anything to say?
Yeah, I think generally it's where the wicketkeeper stands. And it's sometimes so difficult on a first morning where you're still getting to grips with the kind of carry the wicket has or how much seam movement there is. So, it's a little bit difficult, a bit harsh in the first session, but generally the wicketkeeper dictates. I mean, as a bowler, I hated when the ball landed in front of a slip fielder. I wouldn't mind them missing if it was going overhead. Especially in Indian conditions. Okay, when you go abroad, it's a little bit different. But when you're bowling in India, the odd nick that you get, you want fielders to have a chance to catch it. Not land a few inches in front of you. And but again, it's the keeper which generally dictates it. And that's where you go. I mean, probably in the second session, they might be a bit more aware of how much the ball's carrying and probably get their positioning right.
Ajit was in that Mumbai team, when all of us were playing together, the international players were also there. And we had a wicketkeeper called Samir Dighe, who played for India as well. Now, Indian wicketkeepers are of two kinds. There are guys who like to collect it around their ankle height. They don't mind bending down and collecting the ball. I think Dhoni is a bit like that. He doesn't like getting too close to the stumps. And our coach, Balwinder Singh Sandhu, kept saying that, he's standing too far back, and whether you guys like it or not, you get influenced by where the keeper stands. Even if you feel you've got to be further up, that keeper will dictate, where you stand. So he pressed on another selection. He said, get this keeper into the team because he's a wicketkeeper who likes to collect the ball around waist high. So he likes to get closer to the stump. So automatically you guys will come a yard ahead. It took me a long time to get convinced by his theory. Eventually that happened. And Sulakshan Kulkarni, now the Mumbai coach, was that keeper who would stand up. And suddenly the balls were carrying to us.
Yeah, that's the subtle difference. We're going to show you where Mohammad Shami and Bhuvneshwar Kumar bowled in just a little moment. But before that, quick pointer, Sanjay. We saw one catch go down. Ravichandran Ashwin. It was if you have to describe the action, it was one of the easier catches. It was about knee high, which is ideal. There was initial reaction by you that it was late. When is the right time to start moving? How do you anticipate well when you're fielding at slip?
I'll tell you something about slip catching. Even if it's a simple, straightforward catch, it's always a difficult catch. Slip catch is a difficult catch. If you're a short mid-wicket or extra cover and somebody hits the ball straight at you, it's a much easier catch. But a straightforward slip catch as well is pretty difficult because it happens very quickly and without warning, So the most important thing is to remain focused. And I mean, I've also got it wrong so many times where suddenly, your thought wanders, you're thinking about things that don't matter. You're looking at the edge, but your thought is somewhere else. I got the feeling Ashwin reacted late to it. So in the end, it was sudden movement like this. So it's all about being focused. I don't think there was a technical issue there. Maybe he just saw it late. Maybe for that particular ball, his thought may have been somewhere else. So important to stay focused. One reason why you see batsmen standing at slips because bowlers and all are not as focused people as
he probably made
batsmen.
up for it by getting Bravo out.
There you go. So that's what the bowler does. He does the work himself after that. But quick, yes or no? Ashwin, a good slip fielder from what you've seen? A long-term slip fielder?
When Lakshman retired, Dravid retired, people thought, who's going to be in the slip corner. Virendra Sehwag stood there for a while and kept getting ball in the chest and all that. But now I think we've got 3 or 4 good fielders. Suresh Raina is not in the test team, but if he comes in, he becomes the best slip fielder that India would have. Virat Kohli is pretty good. Murli Vijay takes it confidently. Ashwin is not a bad slip fielder.
Do you agree? Someone like Ashwin in slips?
Yeah, I mean, he's been doing that for a while now. So, I mean, even in one days, I saw him during the Champions Trophy, I think, take a good catch. I mean, something that sticks in your head. Rohit's pretty good. I mean, he stands there for Mumbai and he's pretty good, but I think he's in the gully. So, I mean, good hands in the slip, so you can drop a odd catch.
You can drop the odd catch. This is a fast bowler saying you can drop the odd catch. I wonder if that was the immediate reaction when Ajit Agarkar got his.
Just have to keep running longer.
No, he always used to applaud the slip fielder. Yeah, it's okay. The odd one will go down.
Oh, great. All right, but let's see where the fast bowlers bowling for India today bowled. Mohammad Shami was the man who got the wicket off Chris Gayle. Look at the areas and where he's bowled. Sanjay, Ajit, of course, predominantly to the left-hander. And Ajit, that one ball which is just about shorter, it's not the shortest one, that's the one that got the wicket. Otherwise, did he bowl in the right area? Should he have bowled shorter more often?
Maybe an odd bouncer here or there to start off with, because I think they were too focused on bowling up because obviously you win the toss, field first. Everyone says there's moisture in the pitch, get in the right areas and try and bowl up. But wicket's a little bit different. I mean, there is enough carry in it to maybe hustle a few batsmen and keep them on the back foot. That's when you probably get the nicks when you pitch it up. But good performance first up. I mean,
in the right areas.
Got the big one of Chris Gayle. I mean,
that was important.
If he batted for 2 hours, would have been.
Let's see Bhuvneshwar Kumar as well in contrast, Ajit, and see where Bhuvneshwar's bowled his areas a little more scattered. Is it because of the swing he gets, which is a little more?
Yeah, different style of bowler. I mean, more relies on more variation, not so much speed like Shami does. So yeah, I mean he kept mixing his ball. I mean, especially towards the end of that session, the second spell that he bowled, got the ball to go a fair way, both ways really, outswing or in swing. So yeah, he'll be a handful after lunch.
Yeah, we saw a lot of balls that he bowled on the legs of the left-hand batsman. Does that usually happen for a bowler who bowls swing? He gets it wrong a little more often, or is that a harsh assessment?
Yeah, I mean, you get greedy as a bowler, sometimes, because when it's swinging that much, you want to try and get it going a long way. It happened with me when I was bowling outswing. I was going a long way and you kept missing the nicks and you're bowling off stump line. You try to get it going from, say, middle leg, and it never happens. It just drifts down the leg side. So maybe a little bit of that, but look, he's bowled in great areas throughout. I think he's beaten the bat more than any other bowler in the first session.
And also one interesting thing that happened when he was bowling round the wicket very early, where they could see that there was something in the pitch, and he got a couple of balls to leave the left-hander. Yeah. And then he lost his line a bit, and I've not seen Dhoni being so, not proactive, but somebody who was eager to make things happen. He's a guy who's quiet, he's patient and lets the bowler does what he wants to do. Immediately without, once the second ball drifted onto the pads, before he could even collect the ball, he was telling Bhuvneshwar Kumar, get back to over the wicket. So that's the pressure a captain feels, when he puts the opposition in. He wants early wickets, and you could see Dhoni was really looking for some quick results.
Yeah. Ever had a captain tell you where to bowl from? Did you like it as a bowler, or did you just want to do your thing?
Only Sanjay. No, I mean, look, with experience, you communicate with the captain. There are times when the captain's like MS today. I mean, important session, you want to get more balls in the right areas than not. Yeah. So, sometimes the captain just puts his foot down and says, look, this is what I want you to do. But generally, most captains that I've played under, we've communicated.
So Dhoni is reticent in the way that he wouldn't tell you too many things. He'll let you do your own things.
Yeah, he's pretty much lets you be. I haven't played a lot under him, but very quiet. Every now and then he'll suggest a few things to you, but never make you do something that you don't want.
And you played under Tendulkar as captain?
Yeah, a lot more intense.
He would have told you to bounce a lot and everything.
A lot more intense. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I mean, got a lot more involved with the bowlers than maybe MS does. MS, I think a lot on the quieter side, lets you do your things, and generally you discuss plans before you go into the game. So as long as you stick to that, most captains are happy.
Most captains are happy. Okay, so let's move on from the bowling. Focus a little more on the batting. And yet again, Chris Gayle, who Sanjay Manjrekar keeps telling us on Match Point is that kind of player that has that fear and aura and to just take a game away. He's failed again today as Chris Gayle, and he is a little frustrating. We're going to talk a little more on Gayle, see his numbers, see how the IPL has affected him. But first, as we've got a far more varied panel on Match Point now, Michael Holding was somebody who spoke on Chris Gayle, and let's hear what Mikey had to say when I caught up with him a little while ago.
I think he has had a pretty good test career. When you have someone that has played so many test matches and has got 2 triple centuries, I think, and averaging it in the low 40s, made quite a few centuries and half centuries. I think he has 15 centuries, something like 34 half centuries. That's not bad at all. That is pretty good going. I still think, though, that Chris Gayle could have produced a bit more. I still think that sometimes Chris Gayle goes out to the crease and he doesn't really pay as much attention as he should, doesn't really concentrate as much as he should at the beginning of his innings. After a while, if he's there and he gets away with playing some airy-fairy shots and lofts a few balls over mid-off's head, and he's still there in the 30s and 40s, then I think he tends to settle down a bit more and think, okay, let me try and spend a lot of time at the crease. If he concentrated on his innings, from the very first ball, every time he went to the crease, he would make more runs. That is the only fault I have with Chris Gayle. He doesn't concentrate hard enough when he gets to the crease. All those dismissals under 40. if he concentrated at the very beginning of his innings, as the way he concentrates after he gets to 30 and 40 and carries on, he would make a lot more runs. Yep. Chris Gayle is a powerful guy. He likes hitting the ball over the top. He likes punishing bowlers. He likes to show his power, and he shows his brilliance. When he's in the West Indies team, he'll give everything to play for the West Indies and to produce runs for the West Indies. But to actually be in the team, I'm not too sure that if he had an option to miss a game here or miss a game there, that he's saying, no, I'm not missing this game. That sort of commitment, I'm not really absolutely sure about. The batting, his approach to his batting, his approach to the commitment to West Indies cricket, I think both of them are quite similar.
So interesting thoughts of Mikey talking about how he doesn't concentrate hard enough in the initial part of his innings, and we've shown you stats in the past to show how Chris Gayle gets out for 40 or less more than most top order batsmen or any other top order batsman. Sanjay, you concur with Mikey? He needs to really work harder on how he starts off his innings?
I think he knows Chris Gayle better than some of us because he's really studied Chris Gayle over the years. The funny thing about concentration is there are various degrees of concentration. Anyone would think, I'm concentrating hard. But a guy who's really good at it would know that it's not enough. I'm a huge fan of Kishore Kumar as a singer, and one of the things that he kept telling his son about his singing, that you're not focusing enough on your singing. You're not concentrating enough. And he might be thinking, I'm focused, I'm pretty serious, and I'm concentrating on singing. But as I said, various degrees of concentration. So Sunil Gavaskar would play every ball as if his life depended on it. Maybe hit it for 4 or just defend it. But then there could be somebody who is saying, I'm going to watch this, but maybe not focusing strongly enough. So who knows? Some can just do it better than the others.
Yeah. How do you bowl to a batsman like Chris Gayle once you found out this is the kind of guy you can get earlier? What are you trying to do differently when you're bowling to someone like him?
Yeah, when I bowl to him, you got the ball in the right areas, you've always felt you could get him early. If you got through that initial period, it was always difficult because you can't set fields to it. Right. You can't, we were talking before, and you can't have a second slip or a third slip or a point, or because he just hits it out of the park. So it's very important to get him. What I've seen of him when I played with him in the IPL is he is very, very determined. It comes across as if he doesn't care, but he is not. He's very, very serious when he goes out to bat. But he does give you a chance early on as a bowler.
You were telling me,
and just if you have to, read the body language, whatever little you can draw from that. I'm just seeing a little bit of self-doubt in Chris Gayle in the way he's played his 3 innings. He wants to get runs, but I think the same kind of confidence that he has in the other formats is not seen in these 3 innings at least.
Can he get a little fitter? You were telling me how he trains with Usain Bolt in Jamaica. Does he run side by side?
I doubt it. I think the only time he runs is in between the wickets when an odd ball goes to the fielder, because everything else lands in the stands. No, but obviously his fitness has been a bit of a concern over the last few years, and in the longer format maybe it shows a bit more than in a T20 or a one-day game where you have to focus or bat for longer periods. It's probably catching up,
and
but again, it's a confidence thing.
Correct.
And nature of people as well. Ronak, we have our own Virendra Sehwag. You can see that he is not a guy who's hitting the gym every morning. And these are people who have found success with a certain amount of fitness. As you start aging, the demands are more to be fit. Now it's up to the person himself. Rahul Dravid made all the sacrifices and added another 4 or 5 years to his career. Some people are, this is how I am, and maybe, if the fitness is not good, bad luck. I believe Ramesh Pawar, never cared too much about, dieting and things like that. Yeah, it showed. So sometimes you've got to say, everyone can't be similar. So they're happy to, bear the, brunt of what happens by not, training hard enough.
Yeah, well, that's Chris Gayle for you. We'll always keep talking about Chris Gayle. He's somebody who will make us talk. And I think Ajit Agarkar is being very kind when he said the only time you see him run is in between the wickets, because even then Chris Gayle just eases from one end to the other. But yeah, so this is where the match stands. At lunch on day 1, the West Indies 93 for 2 after being put in by MS Dhoni. He won the toss this morning. Kieran Powell is a man who's shown he can hold one end up, 45 not out. Darren Bravo was looking good, playing some Lara-esque shots to Ashwin, and then went just before lunch. It's important for the West Indies to not do the thing that they did in Kolkata, Sanjay. They were 2 down and they looked good in the first session. Suddenly it all goes wrong in the second session. Is Bombay the kind of place also where things could change in that second session quickly according to the pitch and conditions?
Yeah, because West Indies batting is like that, so the pitch may sometime not be the reason. It's just the skills and the overall ability of this team. And Ajit made a good point, just before lunch, where the ball was swinging, he said, this ball is ready. He said it in Marathi or Hindi, tayar hai ball. So it's ready in the sense. So I asked him whether it's reverse swing. He said, no, this is normal swing. But this is a ball which starts swinging a lot more after 15, 20 overs than with the new ball. So that's starting to happen. So the first 30 minutes after lunch will be crucial.
There you go. Sanjay Manjrekar said it with exactly the effect that we'd expect of him. Let's hope the crowd also comes in as this test match goes on. It's not really packed up as the one carry, but let's give the benefit of doubt so far to see if it goes on. It's a working day. Let's see if it goes on as the day goes on. We will be back at tea with something special for you on Match Point. Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, Ajit. And it should be fun to watch this next session. We'll see you at tea. Until then, bye-bye.